Hey family, this is day 72 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Today we are in the book of Judges, Shophatim. We're doing chapters 9, starting in verse 23 through chapter 11. And so where we are so far is, remember, we're in the Judges period of Israel's history. Before there was a king, and everybody's doing right in their own eyes. That'll be an important verse towards the end of the book for sure, but that's what's going on. Israel is kind of doing what they want, and it goes poorly for them, and then God ends up having to save them from themselves and their own downfall through these judges. And we've had Othniel, Deborah, Ehud, and we had Gideon, and we see that they're okay, but they start to get worse, especially towards the end of Gideon's life, and we're not quite to the fifth one yet, but we're right here in the middle of the story about Gideon's descendants. He had 72 sons, and then one of those sons is with a concubine from Shechem, and that's Abimelech, and Abimelech murders 70 out of the 71 other sons, and that last son, Yotam, I believe his name is, puts a curse on Abimelech and the men of Shechem. So we're going to see how that plays out in today's reading. Avimelech was prince over Yisrael 3 years. Then God sent an evil spirit between Avimelech and the men of Shechem, and the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Avimelech, that the violence done to the 70 sons of Yerubbaal might come, and that their blood might be laid on Avimelech, their brother who killed them, and on the men of Shechem who strengthened his hand to kill his brothers. The men of Shechem set an ambush for him on the tops of the mountains, and they robbed all who came along that way by them. And Avimelech was told about it. Gaal, the son of Eved, came with his brothers and went over to Shechem, and the men of Shechem put their trust in him. They went out into the fields, harvested their vineyards, trod the grapes, celebrated, and went into the house of their God, and ate and drank, and cursed Avimelech. Gaal, the son of Eved, said, "Who is Avimelech, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Isn't he the son of Yerubbaal? Isn't Zebul his officer? Serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem, but why should we serve him? I wish that this people were under my hand. Then I would remove Avimelech." He said to Avimelech, "Increase your army and come out." When Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gaal, the son of Eved, his anger burned. He sent messengers to Avimelech craftily, saying, "Behold, Gaal, the son of Eved, and his brothers have come to Shechem, and behold, they incite the city against you. Now therefore go up by night, you and the people who are with you, and lie in wait in the field. It shall be that in the morning, as soon as the sun is up, you shall rise early and rush on the city. Behold, when he and the people who are with him come out against you, then may you do to them as you shall find occasion." Avimelech rose up, and all the people who were with him by night, and they laid waste against Shechem in 4 companies. Gaal, the son of Eved, went out and stood in the entrance of the gate of the city. Avimelech rose up, and the people who were with him from the ambush. When Gaal saw the people, he said to Zebul, "Behold, people are coming down from the tops of the mountains." Zebul said to him, "You see the shadows of the mountains as if they were men." Gaal spoke again and said, "Behold, people are coming down by the middle of the land, and one company comes by the way of the oak of Me'onanim." Then Zebul said to him, "Now where is your mouth, that you said, 'Who is Avimelech, that we should serve him?' Isn't this the people that you have despised? Please go out now and fight with them." Gaal went out before the men of Shechem, and fought with Avimelech. Avimelech chased him, and he fled before him, and many fell wounded, even to the entrance of the gate. Avimelech lived at Arumah, and Zebul drove out Gaal and his brothers, that they should not dwell in Shechem. On the next day the people went out into the field, and they told Avimelech. He took the people and divided them into 3 companies, and laid wait in the field. And he looked, and behold, the people came out of the city. So he rose up against them and struck them. Avimelech and the companies that were with him had rushed forward and stood in the entrance of the gate of the city. And the 2 companies rushed on all who were in the field and struck them. Avimelech fought against the city all that day, and he took the city and killed the people in it. He beat down the city and sowed it with salt. When all the men of the tower of Shechem heard of it, they entered into the stronghold of the house of El-Berith. Avimelech was told that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. Avimelech went up to Mount Zalmon, he and all the people who were with him. And Avimelech took an axe in his hand, and cut down a bow from the trees, and took it up, and laid it on his shoulder. Then he said to the people who were with him, "What you have seen me do, make haste, and do as I have done." All the people likewise each cut down his bow, followed Abimelech, and put them at the base of the stronghold, and set the stronghold on fire over them, so that all the people of the tower of Shechem died also, about 1,000 men and women. Then Abimelech went to Thebez, and encamped against Thebez, and took it. But there was a strong tower within the city, and all the men and women of the city fled there and shut themselves in, and went up to the roof of the tower. Abimelech came to the tower and fought against it, and came near to the door of the tower to burn it with fire. A certain woman cast an upper millstone on Abimelech's head and broke his skull. Then he called hastily to the young man, his armor-bearer, and said to him, "Draw your sword and kill me, that men not say of me, a woman killed him." His young man thrust him through, and he died. When the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they each departed to his place. Thus God repaid the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did to his father in killing his 70 brothers, and God repaid all the wickedness of the men of Shechem on their heads. And the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal, came on them. After Abimelech, Tola, the son of Puah, the son of Dodo, a man of Yisachar, arose to save Israel. He lived in Shamir, in the hill country of Ephraim. He judged Israel 23 years and died, and was buried in Shamir. After him Yair the Gileadite rose. He judged Israel 22 years. He had 30 sons who rode on 30 donkey colts. They had 30 cities, which are called Havot Yair to this day, which are in the land of Gilead. Yair died and was buried in Kamon. The children of Israel again did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, and served the Baals, the Ashtaroth, the gods of Syria, the gods of Sidon, the gods of Moab, the gods of the children of Ammon, and the gods of the Philistines. They abandoned Yahweh and didn't serve him. Yahweh's anger burned against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of the Philistines, and into the hand of the children of Ammon. They troubled and oppressed the children of Israel that year. For 18 years they oppressed all the children of Israel that were beyond the Jordan, in the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead. The children of Ammon passed over the Jordan to fight also against Yehudah, and against Benjamin, and against the house of Ephraim, so that Israel was very distressed. The children of Israel cried to Yahweh, saying, "We have sinned against you, even because we have forsaken our God, and have served the Baals." Yahweh said to the children of Israel, "Didn't I save you from the Egyptians, and from the Amorites, from the children of Ammon, and from the Philistines? The Sidonians also, and the Amalekites, and the Maonites oppressed you, and you cried to me, and I saved you out of their hand. Yet you have forsaken me and served other gods. Therefore I will save you no more. Go and cry to the gods which you have chosen. Let them save you in this time of your distress." The children of Israel said to Yahweh, "We have sinned. Do to us whatever seems good to you, only deliver us, please, today." They put away the foreign gods from among them and served Yahweh, and his soul was grieved for the misery of Israel. Then the children of Ammon were gathered together and encamped in Gilead. The children of Israel assembled themselves together and encamped in Mizpah. The people, the princes of Gilead, said to one another, "Who is the man who will begin to fight against the children of Ammon? He shall be head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." Now Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor. He was the son of a prostitute. Gilead became the father of Jephthah. Gilead's wife bore him sons. When his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, "You will not inherit in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman." Then Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tov. Outlaws joined up with Jephthah, and they went out with him. After a while, the children of Ammon made war against Israel. When the children of Ammon made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah out of the land of Tov. They said to Jephthah, "Come and be our chief, that we may fight with the children of Ammon." Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Didn't you hate me and drive me out of my father's house? Why have you come to me now when you are in distress?" The elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "Therefore we have turned again to you now, that you may go with us and fight with the children of Ammon. You will be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "If you bring me home again to fight with the children of Ammon, and Yahweh delivers them before me, will I be your head?" The elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "Yahweh will be witness between us. Surely we will do what you say." Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead and the people made him head and chief over them. Jephthah spoke all his words before Yahweh in Mizpah. Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the children of Ammon, saying, "What do you have to do with me, that you have come to me to fight against my land?" The king of the children of Ammon answered the messengers of Jephthah, "Because Yisrael took away my land when he came up out of Egypt, from the Arnon even to the Yabok, and to the Yarden. Now therefore restore that territory again peaceably." Jephthah sent messengers again to the king of the children of Ammon, and he said to them, "Jephthah says, Yisrael didn't take away the land of Moab, nor the land of the children of Ammon. But when they came up from Egypt, and Yisrael went through the wilderness to the Red Sea, and came to Kadesh, then Yisrael sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, Please let me pass through your land. But the king of Edom didn't listen. In the same way he sent to the king of Moab, but he refused. So Yisrael stayed in Kadesh. Then they went through the wilderness, and went around the land of Edom, and the land of Moab, and came by the east side of the land of Moab, and they encamped on the other side of the Arnon. But they didn't come within the border of Moab, for the Arnon was the border of Moab. Yisrael sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, the king of Heshbon, and Yisrael said to him, Please let us pass through your land to my place. But Sihon didn't trust Yisrael to pass through his border, but Sihon gathered all his people together, and encamped in Yahatz, and fought against Yisrael. Yahweh, the God of Yisrael, delivered Sihon and all his people into the hand of Yisrael, and they struck him. So Yisrael possessed all the land of the Amorites, the inhabitants of that country. They possessed all the borders of the Amorites, from the Arnon even to the Yabok, and from the wilderness even to the Yarden. So now Yahweh, the God of Yisrael, has dispossessed the Amorites from before his people, Yisrael. And should you possess them? Won't you possess that which Chemosh, your God, gives you to possess? So whoever Yahweh our God has dispossessed from before us, them we will possess. Now are you anything better than Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he ever strive against Yisrael, or did he ever fight against them? Yisrael lived in Heshbon and its towns, and in Aroer and its towns, and in all the cities that are along the side of the Arnon for 300 years. Why didn't you recover them within that time? Therefore I have not sinned against you, but you do me wrong to war against me. May Yahweh the judge be judged today between the children of Israel and the children of Ammon. However, the king of the children of Ammon didn't listen to the words of Jephthah, which he sent him. Then Yahweh's spirit came on Jephthah, and he passed over Gilead and Manasseh, and passed over Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed over to the children of Ammon. Jephthah vowed a vow to Yahweh and said, If you will indeed deliver the children of Ammon into my hand, then it shall be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, it shall be Yahweh's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. So Jephthah passed over to the children of Ammon to fight against them, and Yahweh delivered them into his hand. He struck them from Aroer until you come to Minith, even 20 cities, and to Avel Karamim with a very great slaughter. So the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. Jephthah came to Mizpah to his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with tambourines and with dances. She was his only child. Besides her he had neither son nor daughter. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, Alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low, and you are one of those who trouble me. For I have opened my mouth to Yahweh, and I can't go back. She said to him, My father, you have opened your mouth to Yahweh. Do to me according to that which has proceeded out of your mouth, because Yahweh has taken vengeance for you on your enemies, even on the children of Ammon. Then she said to her father, Let this thing be done for me. Leave me alone 2 months, that I may depart and go down on the mountains, and bewail my virginity, I and my companions. He said, Go. He sent her away for 2 months. And she departed, she and her companions, and mourned her virginity on the mountains. At the end of 2 months she returned to her father, who did with her according to his vow which he had vowed. She was a virgin. It became a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to remember the daughter of Jephthah, the Gileadite, 4 days in a year. So we get to see Yotham's curse, right, where I hope Abimelech and the men of Shechem, I hope you consume each other like fire. We get to see that play out, and where Abimelech, he charges after the men of Shechem, and he kills a lot of them with all his people, but then eventually the lady throws the millstone off the tower and it lands on Abimelech's head and it breaks his skull and he doesn't die. So that's like crazy. Like this giant rock hits you in the head and you don't die. But anyways, it's fascinating story. But then we just get to see a few more judges that don't really get much of a story. And then I believe it's Ammon, the Amorites. Yeah, Amorites, the sons of Ammon are rise up against Israel, and they kind of cry out to God about it. And Yahweh's just like, I've done all this stuff for you, and I've saved you, and I brought you out of Egypt, and all these things. All these other gods that you're worshiping and laying claim to and aligning yourself with. Why don't you ask them to save you for a chance? And so he just basically says, no, this is what you get for not being loyal to me, which I totally understand that. But then we get this story of Jephthah, or Jephthah. And Jephthah's an interesting one because he's the son of a prostitute and he's a big warrior guy, and he is run out of his own country, but then they want him after all to come save them and be their head and their judge. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to be in charge of you though. Like if I fight for you, I'm going to be in charge of you. And we kind of see he speaks out about the history with Yahweh, and he acts as if Yahweh's on his side, and he talks about Yahweh as like his God. And we like that. We like that kind of thing. That sounds good. But then he makes this vow to Yahweh, says, hey, Yahweh, if you help me beat these guys, then whatever meets me at my gate, I'm going to sacrifice to you. And he makes this vow. And then Yahweh helps him. And when he goes to his house, his daughter's the one that comes out to him. And so Jephthah thinks, I have to sacrifice my own child because I made a vow to Yahweh that I would. He forgets the fact that Yahweh abhors child sacrifice. And so we're really this is bad, because he goes ahead and he does it. His daughter's like, you've made a vow to Yahweh. You can't do it. I get it. You have to kill me. That's fine. Which is just there's no pleading for Yahweh's character. They don't know who Yahweh is anymore. When Moses is pleading on Israel's behalf and he says don't kill Israel, don't do this. This isn't who you are. And God's like, you're right. It's not who I am. So I won't do it. But Jephthah he just thinks Yahweh's like a god like all the other gods that Israel keeps falling away to, that I made a vow to sacrifice my child, and therefore I have to keep the vow because clearly the vow is more important than how God feels about child sacrifice. So we're just seeing these judges get worse and worse, and I think that's on purpose. We're not supposed to look at these people as role models or good parts of Israel's history. I think whoever's writing the book of Judges is trying to say it gets worse and worse and worse. And so that's how we should be thinking about it, is that when you turn away from Yahweh, when you turn away from knowing who Yahweh is, when you don't even know who God's character is anymore, regardless of whether or not you think that he's on your side or claim him as your God, you just have missed the point and you're going to make the world worse. So, take that with you. Think about that today. If you don't even know who the God is that you go to church for and take the communion for and pray for or pray to, or if you don't even know who that God is fundamentally, why would any of your church practice be at all okay? You're just participating in some society's view, not even the actual God that you're supposed to be worshiping. So that might hit heavy depending on where you're at in your faith. If all that church is to you is the Sunday morning hour where you go and you get encouraged and then you don't have to think about God or anything for the rest of the week, that's not who God is. Who God is the guy who calls you to live your entire life as the solution to the problems of the earth. And if you don't even understand that, that might be a problem. So I hope that you have something to think about as you go about on this wonderful day.